Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World Class Coaching Podcast with your hosts, Matt Carroll and Sean Fennema, brought to you by World Class Coaching and Pennant Education. We will be working this podcast to unearth hidden gems of advice from coaches at all levels that will help you to improve your club, program, or team. Today, I want to welcome special guest, New Egypt High School and Rowan alumni, as well as NISA, USL 2, and USL 1 player Travis Ward. Travis comes to us off his season with the Sarasota Paradise, who he signed for following the US Open Cup appearance for the squad. He's also played for Maryland Bobcats, Stumptown FC, Philadelphia Fury, Chattanooga FC, and the Greenville Triumph under legendary U.S. men's national team player John Harkes. Travis joins us today to talk about his playing career, his transition from a forward to a defender, and his progression into the coaching world. So without further ado, Travis Ward.
All right, what's up, everybody? Really special guest on we have today. My first year at New Egypt, there was this really tall striker, confident kid. I just came out of college. Was looking around. I was like, this kid, he can play a little bit. And lo and behold, he had an excellent season that year, and then ended up scoring a game-winning goal that sent New Egypt to the state finals. The only time that they've ever made it. And I was like, this kid's gonna make something. And he went on, played for Rowan, and now we're here talking about as a professional soccer player. Welcome, Travis Ward.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to have you. I mean, I remember texting you. It was my sister-in-law's or my brother-in-law's and sister-in-law's engagement party, and you scored the first professional goal by any player in New Egypt. And I remember texting you. That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an surreal moment for me, obviously. Having success at the high school level and the college level, and always dreaming about making that professional debut and just being in that type of atmosphere, and then obviously being able to get yourself on the score sheet and your name, on the ledger at the end of the game, or in the box score, however you want to put it, was a pretty special day for me.
Yeah, and absolutely, and for all of us too, it was awesome. And just to see one of our own go out and do something great like that. You see so many great players and so many guys that have so much talent, and they don't. They don't get to that level. So seeing you do that and put on for New Egypt, it was really awesome. So let's jump right into it, man. I already kind of went over it there. My finest memory of your high school career. You had some great moments, some really, really fantastic goals. But that moment when you scored in the semifinals to send us to the state finals in overtime, I remember running across the field. I looked around and the other coaches were already like halfway down, down the line. They were gone, in the dog pile. That was amazing. And that's how I remember you as a player. Most fondly. Having just gotten to watch you every single day. But now that you've transitioned, you went to Rowan and playing in the USL 2, USL 1, NISA, all that stuff. You transitioned to a professional defender, right?
Yeah, so obviously my first couple of years, I was still playing winger, outside mid, but I don't know. Just sometimes as you get higher in the levels, sometimes your position changes, and you just you take what the coaches are going to give you to get on the field, and that's kind of what happened. I had an opportunity to get on the field and play and play just a different position and help the team out, and it kind of just stuck. Of course, I always have a love for an eye for goal, but I'm a player that I just want to be part of a winning team, help winning culture, and if I could be on the field and help in any way, you could put me in any position. That's kind of how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone would love that kind of player. There's been days where I've given like a player a look. I'm like, we're gonna try this out, and it's like you got 7 heads, and you're like, dude, I don't know if you know what you're doing here. Put me there, but that's a crazy jump, and a lot of guys do, and the story I always tell is about like Tim Howard was a striker, and obviously a fantastic goalkeeper at the professional level. What was that transition like for you, both as a player, but like what were your coaches saying? What were they doing to kind of nudge you in that direction that you think made it effective?
So I think just open dialogue, like just them being very transparent, saying, "Hey, look, like we know you like playing here, and you played here in the past, but we think that you really could be effective at this position, and you can be on the field instead of being on the bench, or So I see a lot of kids nowadays like they're so thick-headed on I'm only left winger or I'm only a striker, and like when you play the level when you start playing the game at a high level, there's a lot of good players out there, and some coaches just have different opinions and different eye for the game, and sometimes you just fit in a different spot that they see you in that you would never even think of, and you can excel, in that position. So, I was fortunate enough to, when I think I started winger my first 2 seasons pro, and then when I went to Charlotte, Stumptown with Rod Underwood, played me at outside back and played 29 games. Started 29, played 29 games. Had a really good season. Transitioned over to Chattanooga again with him, and again had another successful season. I was able to get, over 50 games played at a position that I never played before, but I still enjoyed playing it. It was very similar, a little bit more defensive, but I put my own twist onto it, and again, I just want to be part of a team that's going to win and be on the field at the same time. There's nothing better than that.
I think that's great advice for when you're coaching those rec kids, and you go all right, guys, I need a defender, and half the bench goes, but coach, I play striker. That's some really, really good advice right there.
I literally had a kid that year who was like, nah, dude, no, that's not going to be great. I was like, you're going to be great. Trust me. If it goes wrong, it's my fault, dude. Just go, man. It's not that.
Every kid, all they want to do is score because their parents tell them if they score, they get money when they get home. But every player's profile is different. Everybody's body kind of grows differently, and some people are suited for certain positions more than others. And again, I try to explain that to the kids and make it known that even the goalie, nobody when they're U9, U10, nobody wants to play goalie. But goalie is a very important position. So if we have somebody there that's good, we have a good defender that's good, then it kind of just continues to lead up to the top. There's only one ball, there's only going to be one striker. Not everybody can play that position.
Yeah. I remember when in youth soccer I played goalie because I grew up. My dad, he's not into soccer at all. I was like, oh, this is a fun sport. I didn't know what to play, so I was sweeper keeper the entire time. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just running around and don't know what to do. It was a good time. So just having fun with it and attacking whatever you're doing, like you said, you're getting on the field. Whatever you got to do, get on the field. You get to play. If you don't get to,
that's the most important. The most important thing is getting those minutes and getting that experience on the field. You can't replicate that any other way than putting your 2 feet down on the ground and running around and playing with some joy.
Oh, bumpers. Yeah,
dude, I might have gone against the grain.
You read about Johan Cruyff and things like that. Johan Cruyff and talked about playing different positions. How if you play a different position, you understand it. Played baseball. I know you played baseball as well. That perspective of timing and things like that. So yeah, what were you saying, Fed?
Dude, I think I may have gone against the grain. When I was a kid, I wept if I didn't play goalie. My dad was my 3rd, 4th grade, or my preschool soccer coach. I cried if he didn't put me in goal. He knew it was a long car ride home if he didn't play me for at least a half.
All goalies are weirdos. That makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
Context, I played lacrosse goalie. Man. We all have problems.
Which is even crazier, bro.
Even worse. That's even worse.
I'm throw a cement block at you as fast as I can. Nah, pass.
I'll catch it.
I played hockey goalie one time, pick up. I was no. Yeah, and if you don't, pass. Hard pass. But no, if you're out there and you're listening, you're a kid, play goalie, try it out. Don't listen to us. But so perfect that you brought that up. Kind of what you take into, you've started coaching. You said U9s and U10s right now, right?
Yeah, so I'm helping out at a club right now in my off season. Just trying to get some experience working on. I just graduated with my D license. But yeah, they gave me a pre-MLS U9, U10. It's a good age. Obviously they're young, but you really can see the growth in a couple weeks. It doesn't take maybe a full season to see it when the kids are a little bit older. You can see the growth very, very quickly at their age. So it's a cool age to kind of start out at. I was helping out with the U15, U16 MLS team down here for the Chargers. But I was just the assistant, so I wanted to get a head coaching role and kind of get that experience. And I think it's also helped me as a player because obviously I'm still trying to play at the pro level. So just being able to step back and see it from that perspective, I think also helps me when I go play onto the field because it's given me different ideas and has taught me some things as well. Yeah,
and I mean we were gonna have you on anyway, but then when I found out you've been coaching and things like that, I'm like, yo, this is perfect, because then you've played under so many different coaches. I don't think there's any coach you'll ever play play for that was like Sam Palumbo. I mean, that was probably some of those practices. I still remember the practice he got knocked out with the mace ball.
No, he's definitely the originator. He's the one that started it all. So
For
definitely have.
legal reasons, we're not going to discuss that practice. We're going to move on from that. But then you had
I can
Scott
only
Baker, Rowan,
imagine.
you had legendary Harkes. You had legendary John Harkes. You had Ron Underwood, who for two squads. You've had so much quality experience with the coaches that you've had, and everyone does things so differently. Soccer's so subjective, and everyone has a different style and different philosophy. It's not like football. You run this offense, you run that offense. It's just there's so many different aspects of being a coach. What are things that you're early doors in it and you're working things out? What are things you're like? You hear the voices. I know when I took over for Sam in New Egypt, his voice was in my head the entire time. This is how he did it. But you're also trying to create your own voice. Like, what bits have you stolen from some of the coaches you've played for?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is just being accountable, being transparent, and just having the standard. You know what I mean? Like you want everything to run how you want it to run, and the only way for that to work is if you hold yourself to that standard. So there's certain things that happen where obviously it's something small, but just being on time, having the session already set up before the kids arrive, stuff like that. Like the difference I saw at each level that I got was just the preparation and the transitional period in between drills and stuff like that were just so on point that it's just all you have to do when you show up is worry about playing. You don't have to worry about anything else. Like that's what I noticed a lot, especially my first season with John, who again is a legendary player, legendary coach. Just the way he ran it, so professional. Everything to the equipment guy, to the people working the food, to the team. Everybody's on the same line, the same chord. And that was the biggest thing for me was just seeing that. And it just makes you want to go out there and give it your all even more, and enjoy the game as long as you possibly can, because the little things you take for granted, when you're done playing and you wish you could go back, there's no time to go back. So yeah, just like keeping the standard, having the level be high, treating everything like a professional atmosphere. Even with my U9, U10, I try to keep it as professional as I possibly can, so that then when they do get older and they get to that experience, they're not shell shocked. They don't see it for the first time. There's like something little where, like, when I learned with John also was like everybody walks into the building, you say hi to everybody, you shake their hand, you say good morning, you say hi, you interact, and then it doesn't have to be anything crazy, it doesn't have to be a long conversation, just simple hello, how you doing, that's it. So when I have my kids come in, even at U9, U10, I'm saying when you see me, just say hello, interact with me for a second or two, just so like that barrier is broken, and then we can start training.
Yeah,
So just
I love that.
just like little things like that.
That's something I talk about with my guys a lot. Is like the physical contact, the fist bump, dab, hug, whatever you want to do. Like getting in the building and seeing these people. You're not in there to hide. You're in there to be part of something. And like you said, being professional, having it set up. Like there's only so much bandwidth you have. At the higher level, you got adults that have full lives and things like that. But kids, you got the stresses of school. They just went to school and sat in a chair for 8 hours, and now are like, all right, I'm going to go play a game. Reducing those headaches and kind of keeping them focused is really important. And then I always like thinking like, and you can ramp it up, right? You can like challenge them. You don't want to take all that away. There is life challenges, but if you want to focus on something specifically, you're like, I'm going to take things away. If I want to put the stress on them and challenge them, I'm going to like make a lot of different things and put a lot on them and challenge them that way. So you can kind of vary the load there. But in terms of like your day-to-day coaching, maybe your coaching style a little bit more, like. I always felt with Sam in New Egypt, he wasn't a big yeller. He would yell, but when he yelled, it was important. It was something, that needed to be come across. But, for the most part, it was about building culture and making sure the experience you had there was a great time. So, tell me a little about you. Like, you're a yeller? Are you on the touchline? You're screaming? What's going on?
So to a fault, as you know, even when I'm a player, I'm loud.
No, not you.
I'm loud, but I'm a good loud. I coach when it needs to be coached. Again, like I said, I just finished my D license, which actually helped me out a lot. I'm trying to coach less in the actions to let the players figure out what to do, and then have certain moments where I pause it or I stop it, or like there's just a breakage when then I can coach instead of coaching while the play is going on. Because for the kids, it's hard to play and to think and to listen to me. Like it's a lot for them to kind of all take in. So I'm learning like, okay, when I need to coach something, make sure I do coach it, but maybe wait for the certain amount of time, wait for the break in the play, or wait for so the kid can have full attention on what I'm trying to teach them, especially at the younger age. As you get older, there's certain moments. But yeah, I'm intense. I'm upbeat. I'm supportive. I'm positive. When I need to get on you, I get on you. But I definitely make sure I give the praise when the praise is definitely needed, because I think that helps boost confidence. I'm a big believer in, like, player has confidence, player is in that flow state. You're gonna get the best version of that player every time.
And Travis, I like what you said
I'm
too.
sorry.
With all that is, you said, like, hey, I'm intense and I might be doing all of this. But what I like you mentioned earlier, and it made me think of a quote I heard from the head Army men's lacrosse coach in a podcast, is being the ultimate professional. And I think it's great that, you're doing that with all of your kids and teaching them those important life skills, especially at such a young age, because, you know, I teach high school, coach high school. Same with Matt. There's just so many kids nowadays that are just lacking just even those skills. Like standing on my classroom door, I think I maybe get a 25% response rate to a "Hey, Mr. Fennema, how are you doing?" or a "Good morning" or something like that. So, I think we lost so much of that socialization with COVID. I'm sure that's a big part of it. But what I really, really like what you mentioned there, and it made me think of that quote of, being the ultimate professional, because it's so important for our kids and the skills that they've got to learn. So Travis, after playing at the high school collegiate level, what would you say the difference is in coaching and preparation between those levels? And, like, what do you think each level could learn from one another if they were going to kind of like clash from each other?
So I think he's asking is, did Scott Baker ever have a heat stroke during the Metuchen game, like Palumbo? Did that happen at the collegiate level?
No,
Travis level?
no, no, no. Like I said, my biggest thing is that even if the skill level of the players, or the level of the team, or whatever the case may be, shouldn't bring the level down of the professionalism of how it's run. It should be ran the same way. Even if the kids are not as good, it still should be ran the way, because at some point some of those kids might grow into a different type of player and get themselves to a high enough level where they need to know how to act. That was my biggest thing, is why I try to give that information back, is because maybe it was my play, maybe it was some off-field stuff, but when I got to my first professional team in Greenville with John, there was a lot of things that I wish I would have known earlier, that were little things that I didn't know that maybe affected my playing time and some other things, and maybe it didn't, but in my mind I feel like it did. And if I can give that back to the kids and they can start doing those habits at a young age, then when they do get to that certain level, it's not new. It's not like they've never seen it, never heard it, and they can act appropriately. Like I said, one of the biggest things was, like, every day you walk in, you walk past the coach's office, like, you say hello. You don't say hello, are you going to be punished? Maybe not, but it's just like you're just off court a little bit, and at the highest level, there's no room for error because every player is good. So what are the little things that are going to separate you to get you onto the field?
My favorite quote: "You're always being evaluated. You don't know
Always, no
it, but
matter
you're
what you're doing.
always
And
under it."
yeah, players that come and do activation and like that's like another thing I learned from like a lot of my vets is like you come early. You don't just come early just to be early and like, oh, I'm wasting my time. No, you come early, you do your activation, you see the trainer, whether you really have a knock or not, you just get prepared for training instead of walking in 5 minutes before putting your shoes on, going out to the field with your shoes untied. The coach sees all of that, whether you're the best player or not. If you're the best player and you act accordingly, then everybody else follows and everybody's on the same accord. If the best player comes and his shoes untied, his shorts are sagging, now all the other kids or players, as you get older, are going to do the same thing because they're like, oh, he plays every minute, every game. Oh, I could do that. Where in reality, if you're not as good, you can't do that. You know what I mean? So, like, if you have your best players and you set the standard in the beginning of the year or the beginning of the team coming together, then everybody kind of falls in the suit and everybody's on the same accord, and that's what it takes to win. Because it's crazy. I've been to a final in high school. I've been to a final in college, and I've been to a final at the pro level. Yes, we maybe not have won any of those, but we got in there. And
If
for
your
you to
goal
get
wasn't called
there,
offsides, though, if your goal wasn't
and
called offsides, I think it was
and
a
if
different
you get
story.
there, the margins are very slim because playing wise, everybody's going to be good. What are the little things? Can you and your teammate be on the same page so the pass is good? That comes with, okay, is your relationship about to feel good? Is your coach trusting you? Is everything kind of going in the same rhythm? And it's the little things at the end of the day that really matter a lot that people don't don't focus on. And like the thing that Kobe Bryant always says, like attention to detail. The detail is what really gets you to the highest level and get you over that mountaintop.
So yeah, like you're establishing this professionalism, right? You're doing all these things. You've got this mindset. Obviously, you are someone that is in this position because of who you are. You're driven. You care. You have a love for the game and a deep passion. Now you're transitioning from, hey, I'm playing with some of the best players in the country. Now I'm going and I'm training guys that could be, but you're training U9s and U10s. Now for me, U9s and U10s was always like a tough age because you're getting the behaviors. They're starting to get in that like prepubescent phase. They're starting to get to that stage where they're developing their identity, but they're also pushing boundaries. So you're working with guys that they're making their bread, they're earning their living from this, to little Jimmy, he just got popped out of the car with his mom. Like how much of that the difference in the gap between your play and theirs, like how much is that affecting your coaching, and how much do you cognitively think of that? Like, hey, I'm explaining this thing, you're like, wait, they might not get this, man. Like, hold on. Like, how much of that is a challenge for you as someone that's getting into coaching now?
Yeah, so I definitely find myself catching myself because I am used to that type of level. And again, I try to treat them at that level. Now, again, they're U9 and U10. So the language and certain things have to be a little bit dumbed down a little bit. But again, I try to treat them like they're 18, 19 years old and they're playing for the U national team. I'm pushing them and the quality of the passing and the play. Like I'm trying to keep that as high as possible. Yes, again, they're younger. They're at a certain age. Sometimes I have to bring it back a little bit. But I try to push them and keep that level. So again, they understand that that's what it takes to continue. So like I said, I try to keep it as high as I can, and then when I have to bring it down a little bit, of course I do, because I do understand that they're U9 and U10,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're still in that development. They're still in that development phase.
You're throwing them like the Neil Warnock, like you gotta die for 3 points, and you're like, wait, like this is a scrimmage, yeah. So
Right,
That's
you haven't
great.
seen the Neil
the
Warnock
main the
YouTube
main
video.
thing the main thing and being as serious as I can is that you got to keep it fun for the kids at that age. As soon as they lose the joy of the game and they're not having fun, is the second they're going to ask to leave. So that is the main priority, and then you try to push them to be better, and try to act like pros. But you got to make sure they're having fun. At the end of the day, that's like the most important thing is can they enjoy the hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes that they're at practice every day, and then of course game day. They're always going to enjoy, especially if you're winning.
I feel
Yeah,
like that's
and
even
that's
going on to high school now too. Is even just building up from there is all the stuff that I've been listening to is are your kids enjoying the experience? Are they having fun with what they're doing?
Yeah, because that's
You're gonna work a little bit harder. Like that's the difference between a U9
balance.
Saturday game, right? But that whole idea of that balance and hey, you need to make sure that your kids are enjoying this experience. We just had the whole talk with high school with Fish on our last podcast about how important it is to make sure that we're giving these kids 4 years. For Matt and I, varsity, but Travis goes down the same thing for you. Is I like that word perfectly, balance. Um, and those ideas of like, hey, yeah, this is competitive, but if you're just running your kids into the ground every day, yelling at them, and they're absolutely miserable, whether it's U8s or varsity soccer, you're not going to have a team by the end of the season.
Yeah, seriously, and like that, like brings in our next question. Like, you obviously, again, same thing. Like, driven individual, care about it deeply. You've had so much adversity. You've had injuries and things like that. You've had this, that, the other thing. But you're still seeking out. You're still trying to play. You're doing all these things. You're giving back to the game, coaching these guys. So it's somewhere within you, and not every player is like that. But but the level you're at, those guys, you got to think they care. They're going out there. They're getting paid for it. They're trying to make a living at it. They're trying to make it to the next level. But at the end of the day, they're human beings, right? So we play games, practice. Maybe you play like knockout at the youth level. What does that look like at the level that you play at, the USL 2, the USL 1, the NISA? Like, what does that look like for a coach trying to keep you guys loose, trying to keep you focused, trying to keep the game fun for you guys?
So for me, what I always found that was most enjoyable for me was whenever there was kind of like a competition involved. The thing I like, my favorite, I don't know if you would even call it a drill, but my favorite part of training was when we do small-sided, 3v3, 4v4, 5v5, little tournament style, and then you always have a winner at the end. To me, that was. Hold on.
I get it. We got a dog. We got a cat now. 3 kids. A lot of noise over here too as well.
You got a cat now?
No,
I got a lot to debrief.
I have to take him out. I haven't taken him out yet.
I know you. Thank you for coming in because you just came straight from practice. So
what I was saying was like the small sided games. Definitely keep the players most engaged at any level. Just because it's competition, it's high pace. Everybody gets to play. You get to it's kind of more free play. And then one of the boring things that I actually do enjoy a lot is pattern play. When the coach just shows you some pattern play and you go to goal and you finish off either with some defense or with no defense, I just think it gives it paints a nice picture for you to kind of then be creative off of. It gives you a nice foundation to then go express yourself in that foundation. So kind of like what you were saying before with football, where like American football is everybody has the schemes, they follow the same schemes. In soccer or football is not like that. It's very free flowing. So I do enjoy the pattern play because it then gives you a little bit of a foundation, and it's okay, hey, this is the basic. Now can we expand off of that and play free?
Now, Travis, my question for you.
I think that does, and again we did that a lot with John on certain days, on days that weren't as much load. And it was like a lighter day, maybe 2 days. Like we play Saturday, maybe like a Thursday practice, because Monday was usually a recovery day after the game. Tuesday was hard. Wednesday was hard. Thursday is a medium day with whatever, and then Friday was like walk through game on the weekend. So like that Thursday practice, doing like some pattern play, or separating the offense and the defense and doing okay, offense, go do finishing. Defense, we're going to work on shape, where you separate the teams and do position specific. I like that as well. And some coaches don't really do that. But I think once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, putting that in there and having your winger go take 50 to 100 shots in the same spot, repetition. I just think that builds confidence in the player, seeing the ball hit the net 30, 40, 50 times a day or two before the game. So now in the game, it's kind of like muscle memory kind of comes just from that. So like I said, my 2 favorites is 5v5, the high competition, everybody's buzzing the play. You have a winner at the end, and then a little bit slower. I love the pattern plays, and I love that kind of foundation, being creative off of that, and then a little bit of positional work, whether you're a defender, outside back, winger, striker, just focusing on 20, 30 minutes at training doing position-specific stuff just to kind of get you in a rhythm before the game comes around.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of it is painting the picture for your players. So they have
that muscle memory aspect. You don't want to have to go in the game and never seen the ball curl into the side net. No, I just saw that happen 40 times yesterday. I know I can do it. The confidence is there. The muscle memory is there. Now, do you execute in the game? That's a different thing. But I think it helps tremendously for sure.
Now, Travis, the quick question I have for you is, so obviously you've been around the different levels, coaching all these different levels. I've had so many coaches have conversations with me about positional play, about how sometimes some coaches go, yeah, we go through positional play, we walk through some things, and then they're just so not used to doing it against live competition that it completely falls apart in games. And then I've also heard the other side of it, where I've talked with some coaches who gave up trying to do pattern play because they were like, well, I do pattern play with a defense, but we can't score because we can never figure it out. So what have you seen and what have you learned from your career? What is that balance when you're doing pattern play in your sessions between, okay, we're going to do this with no resistance to max resistance and having a full-on defense? Like, where have you kind of seen that balance in different coaches that have worked with you, or even just in your own sessions?
Yeah, so again, it's everything is for me is like it's a progression. So like again, the pattern playing, the position specific, I'm not saying you should do that. If you practice 4 days a week, you shouldn't be doing that 4 days a week. It's a 1 day a week, one day every 2 weeks. It's like it's thrown in there a little bit because like you said, like you need them to play. The only way they get better at one-on-ones in real game time is by playing in one-on-one real game time. They're not going to get better by just doing it against a cone and going. So the majority of your sessions are going to be real action play. That's why I love the 5v5, the 3v3, 3v2, 2-on-1, like all that one-on-one, like all that kind of stuff is great. But again, you don't want to do that so much where like, okay, a Thursday or Friday before a training, you have your guys competing one-on-one and somebody gets hurt a day before a game. No, you can dumb it down a little bit and have them get rep work in because the last 2 days you've been doing that. And then with the patterns to goal is a progression. So you do it from you set an 11v11. You set your starting 11 up: 4 center backs, 3 midfielders, winger, striker. You have the whole team involved in the pattern play. So it's like center back to outside back hits the striker sets it for the center mid hits it to the winger cross finish. You do that, no defense, maybe a goalie on the other side. You do it left side, right side, 15 times. You get goals out of it. They get in a good rhythm. Okay, now I'm going to add in 2 center backs. Do the same thing. So now when they cross it for the finish, there's a little bit of defending. So the whole pattern is still going through smoothly. Just the last action has a little bit of defenders. You do that well, 12, 15 reps. You do it well. Okay, now maybe I go add 2 midfielders in. So you just kind of continue to add it until, okay, now I added 11v11. And they're not really doing well, probably too much. So you keep the patterns and that kind of stuff where it's like really easy until they get it. Okay, now I make it a little bit harder. Not no defenders. Okay, let me go do 11 defenders. No, you do no defenders, maybe 2, then maybe you add 4, then maybe you add 6. You see how that looks? Okay, looks great. Okay, now we're going to scrimmage 11v11. Let's see if we can implement some of those patterns that we did into the game. And just kind of let them go at it like that.
Yeah, so listening to some of your saying and knowing that you just got your D license, it's been a while since I got mine. I got to re-up my safe sport. I just got an email today. So the way we did it when we got the D license was very much the play, practice, play methodology. And it sounds like what you're doing is building up that. Is that what you're seeing? How much, I felt, when I was getting my licenses, I had a tough time coordinating what I had learned there and what I had learned from my coaches, and kind of finding a medium ground that works for me there. So how much are you implementing those licenses, and is that kind of the methodology that helped you to get there? Is it your coaches you've seen things kind of explain that a little bit more?
So again, I have a lot of experience from some high level coaches that I've just been blessed to be a part of their their teams and the clubs and stuff like that. I do like the play, practice, play method for the youth. I do agree with it at a young age when their attention span isn't as sharp and as long. You need to get them playing on the ball, moving. You can't really set them up in pattern play because they don't want to just stand in one area. They want to be moving. So the 1v1s, the 2v2s, the 3v2, the 3v3, the 4v3, everybody dribbling with a ball, like not just one person finished and there's a line of 25 kids. No, it's not. They all should be playing, especially at the younger age. As you get older, I think that changes a little bit because you can do other things. Like you could do a warm-up with agility and technical stuff because they're able to comprehend it and implement it and do it without you having to babysit them. So I think that the play, practice, play method is really good for the youth, and I think it's still good as you get older because even when you're older, there's days where I go to training. I've gone to training and it's a boring training. We're doing passing patterns and we're doing passing patterns and we're doing possession, and then the training's over. It's like, okay, that wasn't a fun training. It was just kind of a lighter day, but that's what the coach decided to do. But at that level, you can do that because you have to have the periodization in the season with the games and stuff. So I think it's a balance where, like, even when I'm in a training, I want to get on the ball. I want to get moving. I want to get playing. I don't want to sit around and talk about this and talk about that. So are there days where you do that tactical session and you have to, like, stop the play and explain it? Yes, of course. But if you practice 4 or 5 days a week, you're not doing that 4 or 5 days a week. You're doing that one day out of the week, 2 days maybe if you really need to hone in on something. But that practice play method, I think it is actually really good because it gets the kids involved, moving early, and it keeps them having fun. That was, again, at the younger age, joy and having fun is, like, the most important thing. Like, the kid comes to my practice, we do our warm up, and we get right on the ball. Like, we're not really stagnant. We're not really walking around. Like, no, the kids are asking for a water break in 15 minutes because they're moving. They're not just, going through the motions. Like, no, we're doing sprints. We're doing dribbling, ball work. We're doing 3-on-3s. We're doing 1-on-1s. Like, in the 1-on-1s, there's you and your partner and one other group. So it's like back to back to back to back to back to back. There's no really breaks. Like, obviously there's 20-30 second break, but, like, no, you got to get them to continue going so they can stay focused on the training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, like, it's about that, like, ability to stay with it. The ability to focus and understand. You want to push them, but, like, yeah, you're giving a 30-minute lecture to a 10-year-old. They're like, I've got 4 or 5 of those words, and the rest of it,
right.
you're on your own, dude.
It's all about your audience. Again, like, as you get older, you can do that a little bit more. But even when they're older, what I say, my favorite thing to do as a pro level was when we did small-sided, 4v4, 5v5, 3 teams, 2-minute games. You score, you stay on. You don't score, you get off. It brings a high competitive level. It gives you the freedom to do your thing and play and dribble and pass, combine, score, and it's and the fitness aspect is there because it's short, intense, quick games.
Yeah,
That's the most fun part. Now,
yeah.
can every practice be that? No, it can't. Every practice cannot be like that. But you do 2 trainings like that where they're kind of real intense and hard. You do one day where it's a little bit lighter with that pattern and that position specific kind of stuff. And then that last day, you kind of, do your tactical day, you do your walkthrough, you play a little scrimmage, 15, 20 minutes, and you call it a wrap, and then you have the game on the weekend. So that periodization is more when you get older. But again, I try to, as best I can, implement it with the younger kids because the earlier they can learn it, when it comes to them when they're older, it's not like it's something new that they never heard of or never seen of. Like, again, it's gonna be a little bit different. But that was my biggest thing, was like the jump from playing high school and college to the pro was so much for me because just of how everything was ran and the standard that it was kind of held at. Because to be honest, I got away with a little bit, in high school and college just because talent wise and athletically wise, I was a little bit better. But when you get to a certain level, everybody's good. So it's like, now what can you do differently? What stands out? Are you a good communicator? Do your teammates like to play with you? Do they look at you like as a selfish player or a good player? First touch, is it good? Are you playing in 2 touches or is it taking you 7 touches to get the ball off your feet? So, like, everything kind of correlates together. And when you're at that pro level, the leash is short. You only have a little bit of time to showcase what you could do, to hopefully stay around long enough, and then if you don't, then that new talent comes in pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that idea of, like, kind of like sampling that professionalism. Like, hey, you're not gonna do a 45-minute yoga session with your 10-year-olds after recovery because they just bounce back, or I'm sure it was awesome. But even as a professional, like, you listen to Harkes, I'm sure that was awesome. Hearing his views on the game and, like, hearing some stories, and you're like, yeah, but, like, even at as a professional and a grown man, you're like, yeah, but this is great. But we can play soon, like, I'm sure, like, there's always that fight and finding that balance.
That play and that joy of just, like, let's roll the ball out and play is always going to be inside of you as much as you want to try to think it's not. Like, that's where the pure joy comes from the game, is just roll the ball out. It's like playing pickup. Roll the ball out, 5-on-5. Let's go play a little bit. no ref. Well, a ref, but like
Yeah, you let some things go.
there's no rules. There's no like, oh, you have to do this. No, it's roll the ball
Yeah, no
out. 5 people
restrictions. Yeah.
compete. Best team wins.
Love
No
that.
harm,
Yeah.
no
And just,
foul,
again,
right?
like it's a game. It's a game.
Right.
It's a game. It's a game, and you want to play the game. So
You want to play that. That's what they harped on the most in the course was like, so what do the kids want to do? What do the kids come to practice to do? They come to listen to you talk, or they come to play? They come to play. Yes. Do you need to talk and teach and show them things? Of course you do, but it's not an hour in training. You're not talking for 45 minutes. You're letting them play for 45 minutes. You're talking for 10, 15 minutes.
you're
So just to
disguising
find that
45
balance.
minutes in play.
Exactly.
You're like, you're learning. Like you don't even know it yet. So,
Exactly.
like you said, dude, like Harkes, Underwood, like Palumbo, again, I don't know if I would advise everything Palumbo did to everyone. It was a very unique
No.
and amazing situation. But the Baker, you've had so many different coaches, and you're not even getting into youth level and stuff like that. But like, if you could build your perfect coach, like you close your eyes, this is who I want to be as a coach. What does that look like? I mean, and we're talking about philosophy and things like that, but the nitty gritty of like, who presented film in a way that you really wanted to attack it? Who gave you, critiques that you really, they spoke in such a way that made you feel like I was learning, those kind of things. Like, build your perfect coach. And what does that look like? And you don't have to, specifically call names, but like things you've experienced that would be like, this is how I would do this. If I did everything right and I had a perfect session, this would what it look like here. This is what it look like here. This is what it look like here.
Yeah. So again, I was blessed with a lot of great coaches. All were different and good in those ways. But like for me personally, I like an intense coach that keeps the sessions upbeat, high beat, and again, like you said, that are very like detail oriented, which still comes down to the film. So like for me, John was very good at having everything organized, planned, keeping everything very game like. There wasn't a lot of like, stationary stuff. Everything was very much, game like, game specific. And then but the only thing I would kind of go against it or whatever was like I'm more of like a possession based type of player. Like I like to have the ball. So again, so everything that John did was amazing. And then you transfer over to Rod. Rod was a very possession based coach. So a lot of things we did was like rondos, possession, small grid, big grid, changing point of attack. The only thing with him was like I felt like sometimes we didn't do the position specific stuff. So you kind of combine them two together where it's like game like situation, lots of play, but also adding in that possession based stuff. And then my other coach that I had at Michigan, Alex Stremmel, who played in the Bundesliga and played for the German national team, was a very intense coach. He's the maniac on the sideline. He's the one that's screaming. I don't necessarily like that, but the intensity that he brought to the training, where from the get-go, like we're buzzing from the warm-up, I love that stuff. And I love the coaching getting on me, not in a way of like putting me down, but kind of nudging at my shirt to like, okay, you can do more. You can do more. Why aren't you doing
Holding
this?
you
You can do
accountable.
more.
Yeah.
Right, holding me. Yeah, exactly. Like obviously, I like the praise. Like if I'm doing well, I want to like let me know I did it well. But if I didn't do something well, let me know I didn't do it well. Also, I'm a little bit of both. So like to be honest, the three of them put together, was really I was able to learn a lot and take a lot. And like that's kind of how I would think about it. Is like, okay, John's organizational wise and the knowledge he had on the game, Rod, that possession based style of football. And then Alex Stremmel, just that intensity that he brought, the passion that he brought, that the fire is kind of how I picture that kind of like my perfect coach.
I love that. And we talk about film there and the detail orientation from Harkes. I mean, again, like I feel like as a coach, like I would love to just sit in and watch him just like break down film on my own. But you're a player, and you've got things going on like we talked about. You want to be on the ball, and I think at the high school level, for us, I mean, Sean being high school coaches, film is at that point where it's like it is so important. You want to prep, and it's a balance of how much are we preparing them versus like how much are we preparing for them. How much are we like saying this is why we're doing this? We're doing this to beat the specific opponent, or we're just trying to gather information. But for film sessions, I've always kind of been like, it's always never perfect for me. We're either watching a full game, and that's too long for the players. I've had them do individually; they're watching on their own, and then like sharing information that's kind of here and there, and or I'm doing clips. What did film sessions or what have film sessions look like for different coaches that you've experienced throughout your career?
Yeah, so the best way for me that I feel like film is the most effective is, first of all, I think you need to focus on you first. So like we're not changing how we play. We're not focusing necessarily on the other team. We're focusing on us and what we can do well and how we do it well, and we're not changing for anybody. I do also think that it's good to have knowledge of the other team, like whether it's like a list of like, okay, this is striker, winger, this is what they're good at, this is what they're bad at, these are their habits. Like I think like having player profiles are really good, so that the players that are going into that same position, like if we're playing against a winger that's really fast, really creative, and he's left-footed. I think that's very important for the right back to know that. Now, I'm not saying you have to change it up or do anything different, but it's good for the person that's going to be playing against him to know qualities of that player. Now, again, you want to go over stuff as a team as well, like what do they do well, what do they not do well. But again, I don't think that you want to change like your philosophy or your habits. Like, yeah, you have a little bit of adjustments, but again, you want to impose your will and your game plan on the other team, and not feel like, oh, I got to change so much. Like, no, we're going to play how we play. We're going to do our things. Here's certain qualities and things of players that we need to know, so now we can shut them down or play like this to then be very effective in our game plan.
I love that. So it's like kind of a continuation of like that balance you've talked about, like finding a little bit of everything. You want them playing, you want them being able to kind of tactically analyze things, and even sampling that, and talking about that, the theme of professionalism. You talked about being professional, all the things that you do. And in the high school level, you're getting to the age where analyzing and breaking down opponents is so important, watching film. And I've tried so many different things where I'm like, hey, let's watch it together, let's watch it individually, I'm going to provide you clips, and we're just going to talk about certain things, and we're only going to do a little bit. And I found both ends of it where it's like, you show too much, kids get too focused on the opposition, or you show too little and they're missing certain things. And like you said with Harkes, like, again, like I'd love to just watch him just break down a session and watch him just talk about the game. And I'm sure that's mesmerizing. I like to think when I talk, it's the exact same thing, and everyone's like totally attentive and stuff like that. But I know it's a little different. So what would, from watching film in these different levels and seeing all these different things, seeing people present it differently, talk to me about your film sessions and what's really effective for you and how you like to kind of attack that.
Yeah, so I felt personally like the best way for film is the most effective is just, one, you aren't going to watch the full game unless you're with older kids, unless you're at a high level. And the only time you're really watching a full game is if you're watching yourself. Then that is a little daunting, so I think clipping it, certain clips and moments, is the best way to do it. And then as well as like focusing on you first, like yourself first, and then the team. Yeah, you're like, hey, we're gonna implement ourselves on the team. We're not changing for anybody. Here are some things, talking about player qualities, descriptions, matchups, where it's like, hey, we're gonna give you some insight on this kid. That's gonna be really most of the time your matchup. Like, here's some things that we could tell you to then help you in your matchup. We're not really talking about them as a team. Like, yes, we're going to talk about how they play and stuff, but like it's more like, okay, no, we're going to play this way. Okay, my right back, their left winger's their best player. He's left-footed only. Like, force him to his right, press up on him, don't give him much space because he likes to run in behind.
So you're like mental mapping it, yeah.
Right. So obviously you're telling that to the group. But you're singling out the one player. So everybody hears it, but you're like, hey, Ryan, their left winger, look on the sheet, left winger, number 10, left-footed, loves fake shot, can finish with both feet. So we're going to force them out wide. We're going to try to get the ball away from them. They like to play long balls, right? You're like, they like to play long balls to the striker. Okay, my center backs, one's going to cover. One's going to be in front to win it. One's going to cover every single time. So you give little pieces like that where it's like very specific to that position. So they have to remember only a couple things. And then you're like, hey, we're going to play our way.
I like that a lot.
You know what I mean? Like even if it's like we're a possession team and we're doing long balls and getting second balls, you're still saying like, hey, we're implementing our game us onto them.
Not losing yourself.
Change it up a little bit, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, we're gonna do our thing, and then like, okay, here's some things to help us.
I like that because I lost my balance a little bit with that when I was at West Windsor. Because as an assistant, I was really in charge of doing a lot of the scouting. And I would be watching film, talking about some of these teams, these kids, and my kids would give me feedback at like my first year or second year and was like, yo, coach, like you hyped this kid up so much on the scout that like I felt like we lost before we even got out there because you made this kid seem so good. And I think, that was important and something I had to learn early on, even though as an assistant, being in charge of the scouting and being like, hey, this is what we got to do. The kids were like, yo, you made me think that we're playing Messi. like,
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to do too much. And like, again, like you're not, there's 11 players on the other team. You can do every position, obviously, if you're going to like have it like typed down and stuff. But like when you're talking to the team, like you're not doing it. You're going over the 3 to 5 best players on the team. Because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're thinking, like, that's what, like, you can't give them too much information. Everybody wants to just, they come to do what? To play. It's not a class, it's not this, but you're trying to give them information, and some players will really take it on, and, like, but there's players, you play with a kid from Brazil, doesn't even speak English, you're doing, this is at a pro level, you're talking to somebody that doesn't even speak English, Brazilian, who all he knows is football, like, he not looking at no scouting report. He not even listening in the film session. So how are you going to give him all this information you expect? Like, no, okay, he's the Brazilian's a left winger. All you're going up to him is saying, like, hey, the outside back is their weakest player. He only can play with his one foot, and he is not confident on the ball, so press him when he has the ball. That's all you're telling him. And you're letting him go, you know what I'm saying? You're letting him go do his thing. Like, hey, this is how we're going to play, but you can't. You have to just like, and it's also like you have to know what kind of player you're talking to. If you have a kid where like you can tell him a little bit more, then you do that. There's some players that you can't. You have to like tell less because like you said, they get scared, or they're like, oh, you made us lose my mind before I even started the game. Like maybe that player you don't say too much to. You just encourage him and say,
analysis.
Yeah, you just kind of have to have that balance, which again is like a technique into coaching. Like that's why not everybody can necessarily do it, but like. You have to find that balance of like, okay, this kid, I could really like get on him, like Aiden, what are you doing? I need you to do it like this. And then there's Mason's like, okay, Mason, next time, pick your head up, you got it. Next time, you just change the tone of voice, because some kids react differently. That's younger, and then even when you're older, like, you have to be able to know how a kid will react to the message that you're giving them.
Right. It's not about being right. It's about making it effective. Hey, I screamed at you, and I know I'm screaming at you, and you deserve to be screamed at. But now you've shut off, and I can't help you anymore.
Right. So now you just made it twice as bad, even though you're trying to help them. You just made it twice as bad.
I know I'm right, and I won, but now we're losing the game.
Like there's sometimes the kid makes a mistake. I won't even say anything because it's like he knows he fucked up, and he's already hard on himself. Why am I now gonna be like Johnny? What the crap? You know what I mean? Like Now he's like now he's not. In the next 5 minutes, he can't even dribble.
Yeah, you're like, he yelled at me. That was really mean.
Like, what? Now I gotta sum him off. Even worse.
Yeah, like it's about humility as well. Like again, like it feels good to yell. It feels good to be right. It feels good to be like, haha, I told you. It feels good to be like.
And that's the same in film. What like John did really well was like he would call out his best players. Mm-hmm. The ones that he knew could really, and you could, as a coach, you can really pull the strings like that, where it's like. You can really even talk to the player before in film study and say, hey, I'm going to point some stuff out. I'm going to make you the example. Like, I'm going to be hard on you. Like, I'm just letting you know this now. Like, don't take it personal. I'm just using it as an example. You could even say it like that. You don't have to necessarily do that. But, like,
but that's a callback to what you said. Like,
there'd be times where the kid center mid Aaron Walker, best player on the team, his foot mob rating 8.5 out of 10. he make one mistake, that's the highlight we watching, his mistake. Everybody knows he balled. Everybody knows he was one of the best players on the field.
It's the only mistake he made. We're going to talk about it.
Mistake, like that's what we're going to use to be like, we don't do that. We can't make that mistake. He can take it because, like the other day, I had a kid on my team, my U10 team. He's one of my best players, and I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, you have to come to practice every day, like wanting to kill. Because if you do that, everybody else is going to practice hard. If you come and you're chilling and you're not practicing hard and like you don't really care because you know you're better, like now that level from 3 other kids is going to drop because they're like, oh, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Todd Yeagley at the United Soccer Coaches Convention, the Indiana head men's coach, and he was talking about that. It was like, dude, if you're going to go into a film session, no matter who it is, and you know you're going to watch a clip of a player that is just absolutely brutal for everyone to watch, you better prep him and just get him ready, because then you're going to lose that kid for the next 2 weeks, and he's just going to be so out of it. So if you got a kid that, like, hey, you would be on, like, those TikTok scrolls of, like, top 10 biggest mistakes by a goalie of all time, or, like, an Andre Onana highlight film, let's be honest. And you better
see the Turner. You ever see the Turner?
Yeah,
Turner
Turner.
was wild. The Brovka in the World Cup.
Yeah,
that was wild.
That one we don't talk about it enough.
But he again, like, that's the fortitude it takes to be at that level. Be like, yeah, that's on YouTube. You can Google that. Like, that's terrible.
My best friend I played with at Chatham and Stumptown, Frankie Martinez. It was his old teammate. His name was Jordan Scarlett, center back from Iona. Crazy.
But yeah, like being able to overcome that and being able to have that resilience. But I think that's also internal, but it's also can be learned, being able to overcome that kind of stuff. But if you just come in and you're like, yo, you're not good, that's bad. Like, how are you supposed to play like that? Like, oh, I hope I'm not on film again.
And,
like, I hope that's not me again.
No, and a lot of people older and stuff like say like the generation is just softer. It's not really softer. It's just like better communication skills. It's not being soft because there's players that I could really get on. I could really, but then there's players that like you just have to know how to have a certain tone and what to say and stuff like that, because they're just not everybody's the same. And that's where it's like, oh, you got to be hard. Like, yeah, I'm going to be hard and intense, and they're going to know when like I need something done, but it doesn't have to be like that on that one player every single time to get the best out of him. Some players can, some players can't. You have to just find, that balance with it.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think I've found, in talking with you is the balance, but it's also like, remembering why you're here, remembering it's fun, remembering this is enjoyable, remember that, we're playing a game. We're playing a game. It's
right.
Great. You want them to play the best of their ability, but it's like, I'm ripping you. If players know they're getting ripped because it's going to make them better, they're going to listen. If players are getting ripped because you're like, hey, that's something that we're all going to laugh at, that's something that, I'm having joy, like making fun of you for that. Like that's a huge turnoff, and it's got to be like one of those things. You can go through a million different ways of saying all these like all these things, like, the coach sayings and stuff like that. But you have to know that you care. They have to know where it's coming from, and I think that's kind of what you're saying here with the balance and understanding and that discussion and meeting them where they're at and saying, hey, you're gonna be on film today. We're gonna talk about it. But even again, like when it's like you normalize it.
And again, you don't have to do that with every kid or every. No. Like, you don't. But like if it's needed for that situation after that game, like you might, what I'm saying, like you might have to do it like that. But that's the key of like just communication. Like just be transparent and communicate and let them know exactly how it is, and then you can't really do much about that. You what I'm saying, like you still have a job to do.
But going after that player, not going after, I wouldn't say that, but like going into discussions and having those conversations and making it, hey, this is our best player and here's a mistake he made, normalizes accepting that criticism.
Right, like why do we have captains? Why do coaches pick captains? Pick a captain because you need him to reflect you a little bit and like be able to give a message across the field. Does that mean I can't ever criticize my captain? He's never going to do anything wrong? No. He's going to be an example. That's why he's the captain. He's somebody I can use as a good example.
Yeah, but even as a coach, you don't always be right.
You have a couple of them. Like it's good to use them. And again, I'm not saying like I'm not going to point out the bad thing the other player did that I can't be hard on. I'm still going to have those moments where I'm getting on him. I'm just not doing it as much, maybe.
Or in private, it's not, Hey, I'm gonna put
certain
this up
way.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
about keeping it to what each individual brings to the table and what they can handle. And you'd like to get to that confidence up where a player, the player that can't handle that, you talk to them, they build them up, and then something happens, and you're like, hey, it's not a big deal. You can build from
I
back.
want my teams. I've been on a couple, to be honest, but because I've had pretty good success winning wise. I would say I would say that I am on winning teams for most of my career, which is I think a good thing. And I want to be like the OKC Thunder, where like they're hungry to get on the field because they know they're just as good as the kids on the field as their starters. You know what I mean? And then they also support each other the best. You know what I mean? Like you want the team where like you're starting 11, you have starting 11, then you have 7 guys on the bench that all can start, and you're rotating, and guys are hungry to train, and they enjoy other people's success. That's the best team that you can build. It's hard because obviously egos and stuff like that, but if you can really find the right group and get them all like on that same accord, that's where you see the next level. That's where the joy stays, and you see the competition level rise.
And you can't get there without getting everyone and meeting where they're at. Like you have kids at step 5, you have kids at step 2, and you want to get them all in that step 5, and but you want to get them to the point where they're all involved. They all have some
Yeah,
kind of ownership of what's going
exactly.
on. And they all have the confidence from you as a coach bringing that up to be able to take that criticism and normalizing criticism, because it's not about criticizing as a personal attack. It's about criticizing. The criticism is to build us towards our goal.
Yes.
And again, like you said, like that's the trick, right? Like that's the thing you all got to do and you're all
Yeah.
looking for. So.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. It's been, I could talk all day. I know you literally you're having your sessions, you're doing your things, your workouts,
Yeah.
and then you're at practice, and I know you had a parent meeting right after, and then you're jumping ready and everything. So you got so much going on, and that's I think you've had adversity, you've had things not go your way, you've had you bumped around, but I think at the end of the day you're living 99% of our dream and continuing to play and doing all that stuff. So. My meniscus is gone. I can't even like play World Cup anymore. So, dude, the fact that you're still kicking around is awesome. So, we've been doing something where we end each session talking about something applicable. We're talking a lot of philosophy. We're talking a lot about ideas and theory and taking pieces in that we like. But at the end of the day, a lot of coaches are just like, dude, like you said, like you've been working all day. You go to your sessions, you do this, you do your private workout, you do this, that, the other thing, and then you're doing, back-to-back sessions here, and you're just like, yo, I can't even think. We're trying to create a bank of drills that coaches can just kind of like, yo, these are high-quality stuff, variability. We can bring it and just jump into and use every single day. And you, as a current player and as a current coach, I think you bring a lot of great perspective there. So I'd love to hear some of the things you, as a personal as a player personally, you like to work on individual training, 1v1 things like that. But then also, like, what are you doing with your U9s, U10s, U15s that you really enjoy doing with them, drill wise?
Yeah. So I'll give you 2 team drills. I think for the younger boys, I think the 1v1, 2v2, 3v2, 3v3 to goal on both sides on a tighterish field with still some space. I just think that type of getting them to play and work on those abilities at that age is the most important, because it makes them good on the ball, 1v1, master the ball, and it also allows them to be decision makers and learn when the combination play, pass and go, maybe take the guy on overlap, all those sorts of types of things that are like really fundamentally important for the player to understand. So I think
How are you
that.
varying the receiving in that? Is it just like, hey, roll the ball to him? Is it, throw it above the
So
chest?
sometimes, so I do change up the points of where the ball enters. Sometimes I'll be on the sideline and enter it into the middle, and it's like they both got to react and come into the middle, and whoever gets there first. A lot of times I'll just have the defenders play it out. We start it off, play the ball on the ground because the quality wasn't great. Then I went to made the field a little bigger. Now it's like, okay, can we clip the ball in? Can we hit it with the backspin, clip it in, not shoot it at them? If we shoot at them, we're gonna have to, they can't trap it. We're gonna have to do it again.
Right,
Can
like,
we
yeah,
work
we're
on
not trying to embarrass him. We're trying to make a game-like
can we work
situation
on
here.
clipping the ball so they can take a touch and then we can go? So varying up the ways they deliver the ball into there, and then different points of like different angles and different types of balls that they play in. And then again, changing the number up where it's either 1v1, 2v2, 3-on-3, 3-on-2, 4-on-2. The numbers up advantage is really good. And again, it's just gameplay. It's just going to goal, playing defense. It's very game-like. And at that age, what do they want to do? They want to play. And in those moments, though, you really can also coach it by freezing it. And one of the things that I really notice a lot is like when you freeze it and you want to show them something, make sure they do the action successfully before you move on. Whether you have to walk through it with them or whatever, but it's like, okay, 3-on-2. I want the guy to overlap so he plays and combos across. We're gonna do it until it's successful, even if the defender has to just not move. Just
I
so we
love
can
that. 'Cause
see
like,
what it looks
you
like.
messed up. This is what you did wrong. We're gonna keep going on. Like, yeah, like no, we're gonna do it right before we move
No,
on.
we're gonna you're gonna watch. We're gonna all watch you pass it to Johnny. Johnny play it back in between the split, and you one touch finish for a goal. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna do it, and then okay, now we continue full speed. Blah blah blah. Like those are moments where you freeze it and you coach. Not every rep you're yelling this, yelling. No, you let a couple go. You see one where it's like it's really obvious that this should have happened. You freeze it. You go, hey, go back to where you were. Look at the picture. Who's open? Johnny's open. Play Johnny. Defender moves. Johnny plays you back. Finish. So now they see it. Oh, okay, bet. That's how it should look.
Yeah, I love
So
that. It's been like kind of
that's the
focused
team
throughout.
stuff. That's
Yeah,
the team
making
stuff.
them see it.
In Greenville, we had the most famous drill, the over the reedy. It's 3-team possession, one team in the middle. You got to combine 5 passes, play it over to the other grid. If you don't, now you're on defense. Just a very transitional drill, possession based. Great drill. Great drill to do at a higher level with older kids and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
we'll draw that all up and we'll have that on the website for sure. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, so the over the reedy is 3-team possession, say 5-5-5. It's about a 15 by 15, and in the middle grid is like a 5 by 5, across. So when they play the ball across, you have players already in the river in the reedy, and they can block the pass. So you either can clip it over or you could play through the lines after you get 5 passes, and it's just like a transitional drill.
Love that. Again, like what are you putting, like 12 cones, 8 cones, or something like that? Like,
Right. Yeah.
You just
Easy.
again,
A box.
overcomplicate it.
A box, a small rectangle box.
Love it. Love
So
it. Yeah, we'll have that.
And
We'll have that
then
drawn
and
for
then
sure.
and then I would say individually, I really think that just keeping it simple is the best way to go about it, and just repetition work. If you're a winger, go put 2 cones down, put another cone about 15, 20 yards in front of you, and attack that cone one-on-one all day long. Work on the same move 25 times in a row. Have two to three moves that you can do it while you're sleeping, and then you can bring in some extra ones. But if you have 2 to 3 moves that you're perfect at, there's not many defenders that are going to be able to stop you. And then just work on that repetition work. That muscle memory is so key. It's funny, even one of my favorite games in college, sophomore year against Messiah. We go there and we beat them 4-2. One of my best games by far of my career. They were ranked top 5 in the country. And the day before, me and my assistant coach, we just went to the field. I can't even tell you how many shots. We were out there for 2 hours the day before, just repping out shots. Same spot. And then the next day, it just hit both shots I was working on in training the day before. So,
dude. I mean, you must have been pumped, but I'm like, as a coach, like your coach must have been like, yeah.
Oh,
it matters. I'm doing
he's like, that's me. Yeah. So my Coach Q, sad he actually passed away. But it's crazy. I think, like I said, when you individually keep it simple, get out there. You're out there for an hour and 15, hour and a half. As long as you're doing something, you're working, and it's intentional, it's going to be beneficial at the end of the day. Whether you go out there and juggle 15 minutes, do a dribbling exercise 20 minutes, finish for another 20, like it's still good work to get out there and do anything you can. And like I said, just keep it simple, keep the rep work up. That muscle memory will go a long way.
Dude, I love that. And kind of like my takeaway, listening to you talk and obviously the level you played at and all that, you know, I'm always thinking, what does the next level look like? What does how are the drills really different? And I watched at Penn State and I saw how things were done, and the kind of overriding theme I've got here is like it's really not. I think people think it's like a million more cones and it's so much more complicated. It's really not. It's the things from what you're saying is it's the things that everyone does, but doing them better, doing them consistently, explaining them, meaning the level, and it's just the different aspects. There isn't like some kind of secret potion where it's like if we do this drill or we put 16, 25, 30 more cones out there, it's going to get better. It's just about painting the picture and making that picture clearer and clearer. So when you're in that moment, you're bearing down on goal, you're heading township away. You've seen that photo. You're not like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. You're not in lost territory. It's just I know what this looks like, and I'm going to do it, and I've done it a million times.
Exactly, and like you said, like you hit the nail on the head. It's just you do the simple things perfect, and it's cliche or whatever you want to say. Everybody says it. Like it's the facts. Like you do the fundamentals, you do everything perfect, then you can build and have the flair and do this and do that. But without that first step, the flair will never be able to be seen because you won't be able to get to a certain level that you want to get to.
Yep, you need that
But
foundation.
eventually, everybody good. Everybody can curl the ball top bends. Everybody can drive the ball with their laces. Everybody can do 25 scissors. But who can touch, play, and see the play 2 steps ahead?
And something we talked about before, and
Who can
do it
finish
in front of
9 out of
fans.
10? Who can score 9 out of 10? Whether they're up or 99, who's scoring? Who's pulling the ball in the back of the net 9 out of 10 times? Not a 1 out of 10, even though it was a banger, right? You score a banger, but you're 1 goal out of 10. And when somebody has 9
Yeah.
goals, they're all tap-ins, but hey.
I've been harping on the semifinal goal, but you had a lot more bangers than that for sure. Yeah, dude.
I got a couple.
A couple.
I got a couple for sure.
So
Hopefully, hopefully more to come for sure.
Yeah, man. You keep working, dude. Like again, living the dream, dude. Like, you're doing the things that we're all trying to philosophize and talk about. So, dude, still playing, still crushing it. Again, watching you and watching you play in high school and college, and you're making your hometown proud. You're making all of us proud. We're so proud of you, dude, and keep it up. I love to have this. It's one of those things where I'm, halfway through this, I'm thinking, I'm like, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what does this coaching journey look like? I know I've been trying to snag you. I'm always like, hey, if you're done, you come coach with me, and then you're like, nah, you still got it. You still got fuel in the tank. So keep it up. I'm hoping it's long. I'm hoping you keep going. But when it's over, hit me up, dude.
Nah, for sure. No, like I said, I appreciate all the support. Obviously, it means a lot, and thank you for having me on. Come on here anytime. I love chatting with you guys and just talking about the game because the game is what brings so many people together. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm just happy I'm still being able to be a part of it, playing, coaching. Anything involved in the game is good. And the World Cup's coming up.
Yeah.
So perfect timing.
Nothing better, dude. Nothing better. Thanks for coming on. Big love, dude. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.